Hi there. When I made the cylinders for the Jerry Howell V-twin, I mentioned that I might change the design of the pistons slightly by not using cast iron pistons and cast iron piston rings, but to use aluminium pistons and Viton O-rings. But having sort of explored thermal expansion and considered some of the comments in my previous video, I've decided to stick with the original design. So in this video what I'm going to be doing is making the cast iron piston rings. Now when I made the odds and ends hit and miss engine, I followed a process developed by Howell in the USA to manufacture cast iron piston rings, and I'm going to follow exactly the same method. Now the cylinder that I've made is 1 thou over an inch in diameter, and I think the pistons, when I come to make them, they'll be a couple of thou under that diameter. So the piston rings need an outside diameter of 1.001 of an inch. Now it's recommended that the thickness, i.e. the depth of these piston rings and the width of them should be round about sort of between a 25th to a 30th of the actual bore internal diameter. So that comes in at between 40 thou and 33 thou. So I've decided I'm going to go with a thickness, i.e. a depth, and a width of 36 thou, which is what I used on the odds and ends engine, and following these dimensions will help me, because I've got some little sort of things that will help me develop these piston rings that I manufactured when I made the odds and ends engine. It'll become clear when I do it. Now the piston rings, the internal diameter needs to be 1.001 of an inch minus 2 times the depth, which is going to be 36 thou. So that comes in at 0.929 of an inch. And although we're not making the pistons in this video, the piston groove, the depth of it will be 36 thou plus 4 thou, so giving it 40 thou, and the width will be 0.0365, so half a thou over the actual width of the piston rings. Okay, so I've just put a bar on here. I centered this end, and if I move the carriage, I'm just making sure that it's parallel with the bed, which it is. Now what I need to make sure is that the compound slide, when I move it, it's parallel. And it isn't. So it's further in this side. So what I need to do is to move it slightly that way until I get it spot on. Quite a way out actually. So I'll just loosen these bolts. Make a slight adjustment. Snip them up slightly. Still not there. Just tap it. Still not there. A bit closer. I think that's looking pretty close. Okay, so I'm holding this piece of cast iron bar in a 3-jaw chuck. I'm just going to face this end off. Okay, so I'll keep on turning this down until I get to a diameter of 1.003 of an inch. It's 1.004, so I'm close. Okay, so I've got it down to around about 1.003 of an inch. So I'm going to use this flat bar and some 400 grit to get it down to 1.001. .001. 1.001. Happy with that. Well, this isn't overly ideal. I've got quite a bit of sort of hangover here, but I didn't want to waste any material. I'll just have to take it easy. So what I need to do is to open this up gradually to 13mm, then use a boring bar to get it down to 0.929 of an inch inside diameter. Well, gradually getting there. So what I'm going to do now is do a fine feed cut, and then I'll take a measurement of the inside to see how further we need to go. Well, that measures 0.805, so if I take that off 0.929 I get 0.124, divide it by 2, that's 62 thou to come off. Okay, so the bore, to my reckoning, measures 0.912, and it should be, well, we're aiming for 0.929, so that's 17 thou divided by 2 is 8 thou, 8.5 thou to come off. And just to double check that, if I add 8.5 thou onto 36 thou, which is my target, that comes in at 44.5 thou. So if I just check this, these aren't wholly accurate, they're about half a thou out maybe. They're reading, yeah, it's reading 43.5, 44. So I think we're sort of getting there. So I just need to do a final cut, but I'll do that off camera. 926. Interesting. I think we'll be alright though. I've just put a gauge on here just to make sure it hasn't moved in the chuck, and it hasn't, which is good. So what I need to do now is part the rings off. So to part off the rings, I'm going to use this parting off tool that I made. That was for the odds and ends engine, and the tip is 52 thou wide. It's got a little angle on it, 10 degrees or so, and just to recap, the piston ring width is going to be 38 thou, which equates to 0.9652 millimeters, which on my compound slide dial is 48.26 increments. So I've set the parting tool on centre. So I'm checking that the parting tool is 90 degrees to the bed. That looks pretty good. So I've locked the carriage, moved the compound slide in by a few thou, set the compound slide dial to 0, and I'm just going to take a few thou off this front face here, running about 150 RPM. So a bit of 400 grit. Okay, so now what I need to do is to move the compound slide the width of this tip of the tool, and that is 52 thou. So that equates to one full turn of the dial on the compound slide plus 16 increments. Once I've done that, I then need to move it by another 38 thou, which is 0.9652 millimeters, which is equal to 48.26 increments on the compound slide dial. But I'll do that all off camera and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so here we go. The first ring. Running at 180. Okay, so what I'll have to do is I'll just withdraw this bar. I'll just clean it up again with emery and then move the tool in again as I did before, cut another ring. I need 6 in total, but I think I'm going to get as many as I can out of this, just as an insurance policy. But once I've done that, I'll get back to you. Now what I'm also doing, which I didn't previously show, is I'm just putting a bit of 400 grit down there, just to take that edge off the other side. Well, these are cutting a lot easier now, don't know why. I've got stacks of them. Okay, so that's 14 piston rings, so a bit of an insurance policy there. Now to get these rings down to the correct width of 36 thou, I'm going to use this little holder. Now I made this when I made the rings for the Philip Duclos odds and ends engine, so there might be some more information on that video if you want to look at that. But the idea is these rings just pop into there, use a bit of wet and dry, and get them down to the correct width. Okay, so the rings have got a good face on them and a not so good face, which is where I parted them off. So with the not so good face, been exposed. I'm just going to run them round on this 400 grit. So I'll keep on doing this until I get down to the required width, which is 36 thou. Okay, so we've got 6 piston rings to make, and we've actually got 14 here, because this is the tricky bit. And what I've done is I've put it in this vise, one of them in the vise, and I've used this file just to put a nick in the bottom on the inside edge. And the idea now is you just try and snap it. There you go. See if it's not snapped anywhere else. Great. See that? See that? It's just gone there. So I'll repeat the same process on the other 13. Well, I think I'm getting the knack of this. Five more to go. So the plan now is to put this between the gap in each ring. That measures 0.15 of an inch. But if it doesn't sit straight, which it don't quite, you need to use a bit of wet and dry 400 grit. Bit of emery, just like that, just to clean those faces up. So the idea is that we're going to heat this up to cherry red, and it might drop off once it's been heated up for half a minute. So the plan is to heat this ring up to cherry red for about 30 seconds. Hey Google, set timer for 35 seconds. Hey Google, stop timer. Stop! So it's a matter of just letting it cool down naturally, and I'll take it off and hopefully it'll retain that gap. Once I've done that, I'll get on with the rest of them. Well, they all turned out pretty well. So now for a quick test. I've just inserted one of the rings into one of the cylinders, and I'm just going to push it through with this. Seems to move quite nicely. I'll try the other one as well. That's another piston ring. Again, moves quite nicely. Now I'll do a bit of a light test. It might be quite difficult to see this, but there's no light leakage past that ring. You can just see the gap at the top. So that looks very good. Try the other one. And again, no light leakage there, we can see. Not sure where the gap is. Oh, it's near the R. You can see that. So I'm pretty happy with that. Well, that seemed to go very well, which makes a change. And I've ended up with 14 piston rings, good piston rings. So I only need 6. So I reckon if I make another engine in future, I just need to make sure that the bore is 1.001 inch in diameter, and those rings should be good. So my next video will be to make the pistons. So I've decided to make the pistons in cast iron. I'm just waiting for some cast iron to arrive. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you later.